Hello everyone. The today's topic is user perspective in reference to the Unix system. So this is our lecture number 3 of subject Unix and shell programming, and the subject code is 501. Myself Rahul Yadav, assistant professor in Department of Computer Science and Application in the School of Computer Applications. So, in the case of the user perspective, we have basically three main building blocks. The first thing is the file systems. That means how the files they can be arranged in the case of the Unix operating system, and how these file can be accessed by the user so they can easily retrieve the data which has been stored inside some memory, okay, or in some storage space. The second thing is that the processing environment, that how the processes they can be executed inside the Unix system. And the last one is the building block primitives. Okay, so the building block primitives basically they will be used to write some complex programs with the help of some commands, okay, that will be used in the Unix system. So these are the main building blocks of the Unix system that we are going to discuss in the today's session. Okay, so these are the topics that we are going to discuss today. The first thing is the prerequisite. Next, we will discuss about the problem objective. Then, the student effective learning. Okay. After that, we will discuss about the file systems. Okay, that means how the files they can be arranged inside the Unix system. The second thing is the processing environments. So while when we are trying to execute some processes inside the Unix operating system, then through what phases a process has to move. Okay, so that will be discussed in the processing environment section. And last one is the building block primitives. Okay, so these are the topics that we are going to discuss in the today's lecture. After that, we have the assignment questions. Then we have the learning outcomes of the today's lecture, and in the end we have the references, okay, that can be used for the further reading. Now, the first thing is the prerequisites, that what is the basic requirement before starting this particular topic. So the first thing is that you must be aware about the system softwares, okay, and you have the basic knowledge of the computer architecture, okay, or we can say that the computer organization. Okay, the second thing is that you must aware about the basic concepts of the data structures like trees, as we are going to discuss the file structure today. Okay, we are going to discuss file systems. So these file systems are basically arranged in hierarchical manner. Okay, so for that, the concept of the hierarchy, you have some basic knowledge about the tree data structure. And the next is you must know about the syntactical and the semantic rule of the C language, because in the case of the Unix system, most of the algorithms they can be written in the C language. Okay, so these are some of the basic requirements that must be essential. Now, next we have the problem objective. Okay, so the objective of the today's lecture is that you will able to understand that how the system softwares it will operates and how it will handle the various tasks of the operating systems like process scheduling, memory management, disk scheduling. So how these operations they can be performed by the operating system. Okay, so if at the same time two processes will come. So, out of these two processes, which one particular process is selected for the execution? Okay, so this type of task they can be performed by the operating system. So, this is the process scheduling. Okay, similarly, while we have some data or we have some process that can be stored inside the memory for some temporary time period, so how these processes they will be moved from processor or from RAM to the storage devices, these all things they can be managed by the operating systems. Okay, now the second thing is that the topic will aware about how the operating system operates and how it process, okay, and used to handle the issues that will be generated. Okay, so if a process will need some hardware or some interrupt has been generated, so how the operating system will behave at that time. Okay, so these things uh, we are going to discuss in the today's session. So we will move to the next topic, that is the effective learning. Okay, so these are the some of the effective learnings, okay, that will be applicable for the today's lecture. So the first thing is that you will have clear understanding of the professional ethics. Okay, you will understand your subject and topics that will be related. Okay, and applications of these topics, that how or where we can use this particular technology in your real world applications with the help of the commands or with the help of the tools. Okay, so these are the some of the effective learnings of the today's lecture. Now, so we will move to the first topic of the today's session, and the first thing is the file system. Okay, so what is basically the file system is, so file system are basically used to provide an efficient and convenient access to the disk. Okay, so for that what the operating system will do, the operating system will impose one or more file systems, okay, to allow the data to be stored and located so that the data can be easily accessed from the storage devices. Okay, so while we are basically imposes a file system, so at that time they have some basic issues like the defining how the file system should be looked to the users. Okay, so this particular task will basically involves defining a file systems, its attributes, and the type of operations that can be performed on the file. Okay, the second problem while we are choosing or selecting a particular file system is that creating the algorithms and the data structures that will be used to map the logical file system into the physical secondary storage devices. Okay, so basically the file systems they will consist of many different levels. Okay, and each level will use the features of the lower levels. Okay, so if we look at the Unix file system, in the case of the Unix file system, it will basically follow the tree type of structure. Okay, so it has some basic characters of the Unix file system. So the first thing is that it has a hierarchical structure. Okay, so hierarchical structure means it will follow a tree type of structure in which we have a single root node. Okay, and that will be defined by slash, and every non-leaf node of the tree, it is a directory of files. Okay, and these leaf nodes of the tree, they are either the directory or they will be regular files. Okay, the second characteristic is that consistent treatment of the file. Okay, so in the case of the Unix file system, so the devices, they will be accessed and protected in the same way that we are protecting or accessing our local files. Okay, and the next point is that the ability to create and delete the files. Okay, so in the case of the Unix system, we will use the system calls that will be used for the basic file manipulation, like create a file, read a file, write a file, or we want to uh, delete a file. Okay, so these type of operations can be easily performed on the Unix system with the help of the system calls. Okay, so if we are using like a open system call, so what the open system call will do, it will open an existing file and it will return a small descriptor. Okay, and that descriptor, it may be passed to a read or write system call. Okay, so that it can perform the data transfer from the files. Okay, so these are the few characteristics that will be used by the Unix file system. The next one is the protection of the file. Okay, so if we have some data inside the Unix structure, so we can perform some operations on that, like read, write. Okay, that we have given some privileges to the users. Okay, that what type of operation that the user can perform on the files that can be stored inside the Unix file systems. Okay, so if we look at the Unix file system, in the case of Unix, it is basically divided into three types. The first one is the ordinary files. Okay, the next one is the directory files, and next we have the device files. Okay, so in case of the ordinary files, they will contain only the data, and it will include source programs, some executable codes. Okay, text files. Second one is the directory files. So if we look at the directory files, so the directory contains no external data, but these directories will keep some files and they will keep details of the files, and it will contain the subdirectories. Okay. And the next one is the device files. So device file, they will basically consider the physical device as a file. Okay. And the device files, they will include the peripheral devices like printers, tapes, floppy drives, CD-ROMs. Okay, so all these things, they will be included in the Unix file system. Now, so this is the basic structure of the Unix file system that can be used by the Unix, and it is called as a Unix file system tree. So basically, the files, they can be organized in the form of the tree with a single node, and it is called as a root node. Okay, and this root node is defined by a slash sign. Okay, and the non-leaf node of the tree, they are the directory of the files. Okay, and the files will be present at the leaf nodes of the tree. They will be either the directory, or they will be the some regular files. Okay, now so one more thing, we can give the permissions to these files. They will be governed by the file access permissions. Okay, and the file access permissions will be like that, which type of operations we want to perform. Okay, so either it may be a read operation, okay, it may be write operation. Okay, so these are the some of the operations that can be performed on the data which can be stored in the Unix file system. Okay, and the one more thing, the access permissions that will be given in the Unix file system, they will be set independently for the read operation, write operation, and for the execute operation. Okay, so if you look at the slide here, we have given RWX. So here R will represent the read, W will represent the write, and the X will represent the execute operations. Okay, so basically these are the three of the permissions that can be given to a user in the Unix file system. Okay, that means which type of operations can be performed by the user, or it can be performed by the group of the peoples, or it is open to all. Okay, so we have already discussed about this type of permissions in the previous classes. Okay, now there is one more thing. In case of the Unix file systems, okay, we are giving full path name, or we are giving the partial path name, or we are giving some relative path name. Okay, so in the case of the full path name, it will be starting from a slash and each file or the directory name, they will be separated by that slash sign. Okay, the second one is the partial path name. Okay, so in the case of the partial path name, if the file is in a subdirectory or it will be below the working directory, so in that scenario the names of the higher directory, they can be omitted in the case of the partial path name. Okay, and the last one is the relative path name. Okay, so in the case of the relative path name, if the file is in directory or it will be in the near the working directory, so in that scenario we will use the relative path name. Okay, so for example, we have a drive D. Okay, inside D drive we have a folder and the name of the folder is Unix. Inside that Unix we have another folder that is the unit 1. Okay, and inside unit 1 we have a doc file. Okay, or we have a PDF file. So if we are talking about the full path name, so in that case what we have to do, we have to write like that: slash d unix slash unit 1 slash the name of the file. Okay, now the second thing is the partial path name. Partial path name means that we can directly mention the name of that particular file. Okay, so in this way these paths can be classified in the case of the Unix file system. So the next one is the processing environment. So source code in the given program is basically a executable file. Okay, and the process is basically the instance of the program that will be in the execution phase. Okay, so as the process executes, the process will changes its states. So as we have seen, the Unix operating system, it will supports the multiple multi-programming and the multitasking. That means at the same time more than one process can be executed by the Unix operating systems. Okay, so when these processes they will be executed, this process will change its state. Okay, like this we have given the diagram that we have a process and these are the states, that is new, ready, running, blocked and done. So when the process will execute, what happens, this process will execute their state, and the state of process basically defined the current activity of the process. Okay, so if we look at the diagram here, a process have different states, like we have the new. So here the new will indicates that a new process has been created. Okay, now after the creation of the program, it will move to the ready state. Okay, so the ready state will indicate here that the process is waiting, okay, to be assigned to a processor. Okay, so if a process is in the ready state, that will indicate that now that particular process is waiting. Okay, now the next one is the running state. So running state means that now that process has been assigned to a processor and the instructions they are executed. Okay, now while the process is in a running state, there are two conditions. The first thing is that the process will move to the blocked state. Okay, so when the particular process will move to the block state, uh, while a process is waiting for a input output request, or we can say that a process will wait for some particular event to occur. Okay, like if it needs some input output devices to complete the process, so what it has to be do, it move to a blocked state. Okay, that means it will wait here until unless the request has not been approved by the operating system. Okay, now the second scenario is that the process will execute and it will be terminated. Okay, that will be indicated by the done. That means the process has finished the execution. Okay, so if a process is in a blocked state, so if the input output request has been completed, then the process will again move to the ready state and it will wait there for the processor to be allocated to it. Okay, so in this way the processes can be executed in the Unix systems. Okay, so in the case of the Unix, the new processes they will be created by the fork system call. Okay, so the process that invokes the fork system, it is called as the parent process, and the newly created process they will be called as the child process. Okay, so in the case of the uh, Unix system, there are four major system calls that will be used for the process control, and they will be fork. The next one is exec. Okay, that is execution. Then we have a wait, and the last one is the exit. Okay, and in the case of the Unix operating system, each process will have its own process control block. Okay, and the kernel will identify each process with the help of its process number, and this process number is called as the process ID. Okay, now so in the case of the Unix shell system, it will basically allow the three type of commands. The first one is a uh, executable file that will be created by the compilation of the source code. The second one is the executable command, which contain the sequence of the shell commands. Okay, and the third one is the internal shell commands. Okay, so basically the shell is a user program. Okay, and the shell is a basically your command interpreter, which is basically used to execute the commands or application utility applications. Okay, that will be given by the users to it. Okay, now next we have the building block primitives. Okay, so in the case of the Unix system, it will allow the complex programs that can be built with the help of the simple programs. Okay, and these primitives basically enable the user to write some modular programs that can be used as a building block to build the more complex program. Okay, so what basically the Unix system will do, it will create a large program, or it will divide a large program into smaller programs, and these smaller programs, they will be called as the modules. Okay, and by combining these small modules, okay, or by combining these modules, we can create more complex program in the case of the Unix systems. So basically these primitives may be either direct input output and the pipes. Okay, so in the case of the Unix system, it has the basically access to the three type of files. The first one is the standard input output file. Okay, the second one is a standard output file, and the third one is the standard error files. So what the input file will do, it will take the input from the file, and it is known as the standard input, like your keyboards. Similarly, the standard output file will basically send the output to another conceptual files. Okay, like we have some output devices like monitor, okay, like display unit. So these type of files, they are called as the standard output files, and those files which are used to give the error message, okay, to another file, these type of files are known as the standard error files. Okay, so as we have seen in the case of the Unix file system, the Unix is hardware independent. Okay, so it provides the redirection facilities where the input output can be done to and from for the files and the devices. There is one more thing. Another building block primitive of the Unix system is called as the pipe, and it is basically the mechanism by which the output of one command will act as an input of the another commands. Okay, so with the help of the piping, it will basically allow the stream of data to pass between the reader and the writer process. So what is basically pipe is, we will discuss that in detail in the next sessions. Now we will move to the next slide. Okay, so whenever we are executing a shell, okay, so it is basically serving these three files. Okay, so for example, we have given some commands like first one is ls. Okay, that is called as the list. So ls command basically what it will do, it will list down all the files that will be present inside the current directory. Okay, the second one is the ls output. So ls output command, it will send the list of files to another file. Okay, now as we have discussed, the another building block is pipe, and why we are using the pipe. So the pipe will allow the stream of data to be passed from the processors. Okay, so how we can use a pipe? It will be used as ls. Okay, then a vertical bar, and we have the more command. Okay, so this is the basic building blocks that can be used by the Unix system. Now, so next we have the assignment questions for you. Okay, and are the learning outcomes of the today's lectures, that you have the knowledge about the file systems that will be used by Unix and the features that will be used by the file systems. Okay, and how the processes can be executed, how they will be moved from one state to another states, and you will understand about the basic building blocks of the Unix systems. Okay, so how these blocks can be divided into small modules, and these modules can be combined to make a large or make the complex problems. Okay, now, so these are the references that will be given for your further reading. So now this is the end of the today's lecture. Thank you.